Today is a review of the Decent Espresso Machine, the DE1 XL in particular, after a few months of use. For this channel, I've reviewed a lot of different coffee equipment over the course of the past 5 years. I've used things like all of the different Flare espresso makers with the smart espresso profiler attached to it and the pressure sensor attached to it with all of the statistical charts that come along with it. I've used Rocket Apartamentos, Rocket R58s, another flow profile machine that was from Prima Coffee, and a lot of other machines here and there throughout the course of the past 5 or 6 or 7 years or however long it's been. So I'm fairly well rounded in the sense of owning a ton of different equipment and a ton of different experience with it. And just a few months ago, I finally got my hands on purchasing a Decent Espresso Machine. There was a used one on Facebook Marketplace just an hour and a half away from me. So I hopped in my car and I went and picked up and used it for a few months, and I've actually used it direct side by side with my Rocket R58, and there's a review comparison between those two machines. But this machine comes in about $4,000, give or take. I've also got the catering kit for it, so it will automatically refill itself, and also a drainable kit for it too as well. And this is a used one. I believe I have the version 1.42, so keep in mind there are some drastic changes along with it as well. But I want to answer the question on whether it's not actually worth using all the smart technology in the course of 2025, and if this really does have an impact on your shots and the quality overall, and whether or not I'm actually going to use this machine going forward, or whether I'm going to get rid of it. And we're going to answer all of those in this video. But if you could please like and subscribe, that helps me produce more content. So I want to talk first off about the design and build quality of this, as this is quite a bit different of a machine. This machine is very light. This is very small. It actually compacts down into a suitcase, so you could travel with it. However, the suitcase is still very large. It does have some suction cups on the bottom of the machine, so it actually stays put fairly well. There's a handle that you have to hold and put your portafilter in. However, I did unscrew this and it does still work fine, but it definitely feels a lot more lightweight than things like my Rocket R58. This is a very minimalistic design. However, there is a huge touchscreen and a huge learning curve that comes with it. So it's compatible with Android tablets that it comes with on the machine, and everything is controlled on that, as well as there is a kind of cylinder thing on top of the group head where you can flush it, where you can pull a shot, where you can turn off the machine, and then also where you control the steam. So you have to click one of those buttons to start things. However, it will start whatever you have set up on the tablet. It also has a hot water nozzle that shoots directly into it right behind the group head as well. So it kind of does everything you need for it. However, it just looks like it has a steam wand, even though it does have that hot water tab. So there's a lot of app control with this machine, and that's kind of the big thing about it, is it allows you to use tech to pull your shots of espresso. And with that comes a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of frustrations that I did have. There's pressure and temperature profiling, so you can control the temperature throughout your shots. You can have it drop down to a lower temperature, raise it up to a higher temperature. You can control the flow of the shot, so how much water is coming out at a certain amount of time. You can also control the pressure of each shot too, so how many bars of pressure is going on throughout the shots. And you have the ability to repeat different style of shots. So if I want to do a 3-bar shot and ramp up to 9-bar and then slowly ramp down to back to 3-bar, and I want it to be 46 grams and 30 seconds, I set it up to do that, and it will adjust everything accordingly. So even if my grind set is off, it's going to allow you to adjust things based off of kind of what you want. So it's like if you're too fine, it's going to maybe raise that up to 6 bars if you want it to, and you can control all of this through the app, and you can click whatever recipe you want, and you can also share profiles to the community. So one of the things I love is I created a Slayer profile shot where it was a long pre-infusion, and it bumps up to 9 bars and then kind of slowly ramps down to give you a little bit sweeter of a shot. There's also ones where it will just kind of detect your grind setting as it gets into it and the resistance in the puck, and it will just adapt it to make it a good shot, so then you have less dialing in issues when it comes to that. The steam wand is also very, very well in there. You don't really even have to purge it. All you have to do is click the steam button, and then it will steam your milk and then as soon as it's done, you click stop, and then you pull the thing and it'll automatically purge, so you just have to wipe it off a little bit easier. It works super, super well. It's not the strongest, but it's also suffices more than enough, and it's also not insulated too as well, but it does give more than enough ability to steam and adjustment to steam. And here are some of the kind of the bigger things here is there is an intense learning curve on this machine, and it is very, very overwhelming. I've used a lot of machines without even reading the instruction books, including ones with a lot of customability into it. And when I got the Decent, it was overwhelming, and I had to do a lot of research in figuring out how to use that. And we're not going to go in depth on this video about that, but it is very, very overwhelming, not just for beginners, but also for people who have used a lot of machines in the past like I have. I couldn't imagine how difficult it would be for beginners. However, when it does come to pulling a decent shot, so in my household I use regular coffee beans and I go through them quite a bit and adjust it quite a bit. I have a Weber Workshop's EG1 grinder, which is the top of the line grinder that you can buy, so my grinder is never going to be an issue for me. It's all going to be based off of user ability, if you will. My wife uses decaf, so the settings needs to change back and forth on there, and I don't ever really pull shots of decaf unless I'm making coffee for her. So one of the things that was nice about this machine is the adaptive button. I taught her how to find an adaptive profile where it would adapt based off of the grind size a little bit. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to give you good shots at least most of the time if you're in the ballpark of the grind setting. And I found that pretty easy for her, and she found it pretty user-friendly to go forward to it. But when it comes into the creating profiles and all the nitpicky stuff, it's very overwhelming, especially when you're an Apple user and you've never used an Android tablet before in your life. It makes it a little bit more difficult, but it is easy to repeat things, and it is really easy to pull shots, and it's really nice that you can experience with all of the stuff that people have created. And there's also communities that unlock and give you access to as soon as you purchase a machine, whether it's new or used. You send them an email and they will get you in the Decent Dysphoria group or something like that, and that has a ton of people who use it, and there's a great online community for help when it comes to it. Here's a couple things that I want to get into. This machine is for the person who wants to be super nerdy when it comes to espresso. Now notice what I said there. It's for the person who wants to be super nerdy when it comes to espresso. It's not necessarily for the person who wants the best quality shot, but it's for the person who wants to be able to control and explore the world of espresso to every single ability that their hearts desires. It's the person who's going to make intense layouts of all the apps and stuff on their phones and maybe shortcuts throughout the whole thing. I don't know. It's somebody who likes to tinker, who likes to mess with things, and who wants the ability to do that with a machine and through tech. It is not somebody who wants a consistent shot and to set it and forget it and be done with it. So this machine is for some people, but it's not for all people. And for me, it's not for me either. I think I don't like the requirement to be using a tablet for every single shot that I pull. Yes, you could take off the tablet theoretically and just do the profile by clicking one of the buttons on the top, but the tablet's there all the time, and it's not a bad thing, but it's not for me. I prefer kind of the more hands-on approach to it, where I just don't have to interact with the screen every single morning when I pull a shot of espresso, or at least not to that ability. It's also kind of difficulty. I had some issues where the tablet wouldn't connect to the Akai scale that I have, and that will allow you to stop your shots automatically, and the scale will be read into the app and give you live profiling throughout the whole thing. And sometimes the tablet wasn't connecting to the machine, and the machine wasn't connecting to the tablet, and the tablet wasn't connecting to the scale. And when you get to pull your shot in the morning and you're having issues with tech, it is a very frustrating thing. It's like if you're at work and you can't get your computer to print off the printer and you need to print something really quickly. It's a very, very frustrating experience. Or when the Wi-Fi is out and you can't do the thing that you need to do because the Wi-Fi is out. It's frustrating when you're wanting to count on a machine and it's not working in the moment. Now that might not be everybody's case, but it did happen to mine a few times, and the first few times were frustrating because I didn't know the workarounds entirely on the machine because it was so advanced for it. I find that the machine does lack a little bit of mouthfeel, and it doesn't. This is kind of a hard thing. I don't know if it doesn't pull the most consistent shots, or if it's partly maybe it's so advanced that it's kind of detecting a little bit more. But when it comes to pulling shots with it, I find like there to be a little bit more variable on time on each profile than I expected there to be, with all of the tech in that. Now that doesn't mean it pulls a bad shot, but when you're comparing grinder and shot and all this stuff like that I have to do for a YouTube channel, it can get kind of frustrating in the realms of that, because it's not as consistent as I would like it. That does not make it a bad machine by any means. I do think the Decent has its place. I do think that the Decent has its following, and I do think that the Decent is a good machine. However, because of the tech as a whole, I'm not the right person for it. That doesn't mean you aren't the right person for it. But for me personally, I like the more hands-on approach of like at least not dealing with tech in the morning. So one of the reasons I kind of had that hunch going into it is because I invested a lot of money in the smart espresso profiler, Akaya lunar scales, and various other ways to profile digitally espresso while using the flare in order to repeat shots. And I find that I would prefer not to do that, and I'd actually just prefer to use a normal pressure gauge on a flare. So that kind of made sense to the fact of not liking the Decent. I also don't, and this again, this is not Decent's fault on it. This is just my opinion on it. Decent is not a bad machine, and it kind of, I don't want that to come across that way. But one of the things that was kind of annoying is when you're experiencing with different profiles, that means you also have to adjust your grind setting. So that means you can't just like have a grind setting and then just click through all these profiles and figure out which ones you like. It's you choose the profile and then you dial it in and then you pull a shot, and then you choose a different profile, you dial it in and pull a shot too. So the custom ability, it's not as easy as I would have hoped it to be. It doesn't make it bad, it's just not, you have to waste some more coffee for it. So that's kind of my take on this. The Decent is a very, very good machine, and it's perfect for the person who wants to nerd out and who wants to experience with all those things. I just want a good shot of espresso, and the Decent does that, but it's just too much work for me in the sense of it. If you want to plug and play, it's not for you. If you want cafe level experimentation at home, the Decent really does deliver on that. For me, I would pick a traditional espresso machine over the Decent. I would choose a Linea Mini or a Rocket or something like that that would give me the more consistent, user-friendly shots over the Decent. But that might not be for you, and I want to know your thoughts on it. Are you interested in all this tech stuff when it comes to an espresso machine, or do you prefer kind of more the approach that I have, the more traditional approach? Neither one is wrong. Both of them have a place, and that also does really excite me that there are the options to do a lot of tech, and there also is a lot of exploration when it comes to coffee. But if you could please like and subscribe, let me know what you think in the comments below, and stay tuned for more videos, and stay tuned for a comparison directly between this and the Rocket R58. Thank you.